Resource rent taxes are an emerging issue for mining companies around the world as governments jealously eye the super profits being generated by these companies. Here in South Africa, differences exist in the way gold mining companies and the rest of the industry are taxed. Imara SP Reid's view is that a uniform tax system in the mining industry could ease labour unrest and boost employment. Joining us in studio to discuss is Stephen Meintjes, Head of Research at Imara SP Reid. Stephen, so this is part of the broader theme of resource nationalism. I think if you're going back, it obviously started in Australia, extended through to other regions in the world, and this could be hurting the industry.
Well, absolutely. We need a compelling answer to the cries for nationalisation. And when Malema referred last year to the delicious fruitcake which he hoped would be obtained for the people by nationalisation, if anything, he was really referring to uncollected rent, natural resource rent. I don't think he necessarily was aware of it like that. And we have a proxy for that already in South Africa in the gold mining industry. So what we think would be a very good answer is to roll that out to the rest of the mining industry.
And just tell us more, sorry Warren, just about how the two differ, the way in which gold companies are taxed and the way in which other mining companies are taxed, and financially what that might mean for the bottom line.
Yes, well the gold mines, and for many, many decades, have had a formula tax whereby the richer mines pay a much higher rate of tax and the poorer mines much less. For example, the formula we had for several years up to 2010 was one whereby if your operating profit this is now after recovery of all CapEx, capital expenditure, was less than 5%, you paid no company tax, even if you made profits. And on the other hand, if your mining margins were, say, in excess of 50%, which is pretty well where Kumba's are now, then you would be paying a tax rate of over 40%. So there was a big variance in the tax rate, the company tax rate, according to how well endowed the mine was or wasn't. As opposed to that, the rest of the mining industry now has a one-size-fits-all tax system of 28% plus a royalty, which does have a little bit of variation. It's EBIT based, so it does vary according to the EBIT margins, which is a good thing. But nevertheless, that is not enough to detract from the very powerful impact of a one-size-fits-all tax system whereby you undercollect rent in mines such as Kumba and you overcollect in your more marginal mines. So I mean that's why Kumba was able to pay such wonderful bonuses in December.
To the same workers who subsequently went on strike.
Yes, yeah. So I think it was a small amount. But so Stephen, what we're saying is that obviously when we turn this around, did the fact that the gold mines on the Witwatersrand Basin, the fact that they were getting old and more marginal, was that one of the reasons why they introduced this pro rata tax, if you could call it, in the gold mining industry?
I think so. It's been established for such a long time that one has to assume that was the reason. Of course, in the dying years of the apartheid regime, they changed the formula and the tax rate was a lot higher. We're certainly not suggesting that. But obviously you can move the tax rate around so as to ensure that you're globally competitive. That's the beauty of it.
So one of the economic benefits of this would be that in the case where, for instance, now we have many platinum mines that are marginal at the current platinum price, and are also aging, they're not young mines anymore, some of them, they would pay less tax, and in effect it would be able to stimulate more jobs because those marginal mines would remain in business or profitable for a lot longer than they would under a tax regime where it's a fixed rate.
Yes, and one could say as far as the three big gold mines are concerned, Harmony's portfolio is to quite a large extent comprised of fairly marginal operations, which have been enabled to continue producing thanks to this formula tax.
So in terms of some of the mines that we're talking about at the moment and the companies that may be more marginal or may benefit from this in the platinum industry and perhaps more broadly, do you have some in mind that could perhaps use this structure efficiently?
Well, I think the whole industry, it would have to be an industry-wide thing. But I mean, just to give you some idea of how well-endowed mines can differ from the others, you take Mogalakwena, which is the Anglo Plat's flagship mine, and that's in the Limpopo province, and that is their costs per ton milled about 254 Rand a ton on mine cash costs. Now that is very, very low, but that's an open cast mine. If you take their mines in the Rustenburg area, they would be maybe around about 900 Rand on mine cash cost per ton milled. Implats' flagship Impala Platinum itself in the Rustenburg area, they've got quite a, relatively low, that's about 540 Rand per ton milled, their on-mine cash costs. So that just gives you an idea of the enormous variation in the profitability. Now that's a function of location. You can have equally skilled labor and capital. In fact, the Northern Mine Management is highly rated, and they're making money, and their on-mine cash costs per ton milled are 1,318 Rand a ton. So yes, you see the huge variation, and this is why this tax formula would be so useful. We've
got a minute left, so let me conclude by asking you, it's a fascinating approach and one way of solving the problem. We're all grappling with a solution to the mining industry, labour issues, unemployment, etc. Is this something that the industry perhaps is lobbying about, and something that government might seriously consider, or Treasury?
Well, of course, the ANC itself, via its Sims document, is recommending a form of natural resource rentals collection. We disagree with the formula they use, and we think we've got a much more simple and practical one, which definitely provides relief to the marginal mines, whereas that one seems to be more of a super tax on the rich mines. I think you've got to have both sides of the coin in operation.